What's going on, everyone? While 77% of the S&P 500 fell down in the red today, the market is desperately trying to bounce back from the dead, and we actually have some pretty good news today related to a potential Ukrainian-Russian ceasefire. We have some slightly easing tensions with the trade war. The market is actually holding support in a pretty good way, and we have a handful of important events set to happen tomorrow and over the next couple of days. A good amount of stocks are actually moving pretty strongly right now, so I think we're set for a great day in the market, Tom. So with that being said, let's get right to it.
Yeah, the overall market today was like a heartbeat monitor, continuing with all the volatility that we have been seeing. We saw a drop with the SPY. It actually made new recent lows and then bounced all the way back up. And there was a lot of weird events today. And I guess we'll kind of get into the timeline of these events, Mike. So first things first, right off the bat, what really kicked off this overall move with the SPY and this great uptrend here in the middle of the day is the Ukraine situation. So right now, Ukraine is obviously at war with Russia, and they're trying to get this ceasefire deal done. Trump has been talking a lot about this in the short term. We've heard a lot of news of him with Zelensky, obviously, as they met at the White House and had that confrontation a couple weeks ago. And it came out today, Marco Rubio said that Ukraine's ready to start talking and stop shooting. And there was a lot of good quotes that Marco Rubio said that you guys can go read about or watch about, of course. But at the end of the day, Mike, this is some great action here for the market, and there was a great positive move off of this. And then there's tariff news mixed in as well that we'll get into, but it seems like that this Ukraine war is finally coming to an end, and this could end up affecting all things from SPY and even oil and gold. A lot of oil's price action has been negative in the short term. It's starting to test this support. I don't know if this conflict ends, that might be a bad thing for oil prices, because as we know, the oil prices tend to go up with these conflicts.
Well, it's definitely a good sign that Ukraine has agreed to the ceasefire. We still have to wait to hear what Russia has to say, and I think that's where a lot more of the risk is going to come into play with this news. Trump does have some meetings and talks planned with Russia later this week, so that is good, and hopefully we do get some updates on that front. But either way, it's definitely a good starting step there. But as we know, Tom, the trade war, especially with Canada, has just been crazy lately, and today was definitely eventful. So what is going on this side of things?
Yeah, this is pretty insane. So there is a lot going on today, so stick with me, guys. Ontario, they've been talking about doing a 25% surcharge on electricity exported to the United States, and that ended up going into effect yesterday, and Trump did not like that very much. Whenever we woke up this morning, there was news that came out that Trump was going to escalate this situation and up Canada's import tariffs on steel and aluminum by an extra 25%. And I guess Canada talked about this because a few hours later, they came out and they were like, yeah, you know what? We're not going to do that 25% surcharge on electricity anymore. So the trade wars with Canada are heating up. Now, there still is a 25% surcharge on steel and aluminum that is set to go into place on all countries that import into the United States. But Canada is, of course, one of the larger players as they lead all countries in those imports.
Yeah, the U.S. and Canada trade tensions definitely heated up during the day today, but I am very glad to see that, Canada backed off, and then Trump is set to back off from this additional 25% tariff as well, which would just take it back down to that 25% level as it was originally. So it's good to see that tensions certainly cooled down from their highest point today, and I do think that really helped the market hold up a little bit. The market definitely still finished down red on the day, and it still is very close to support, but it is holding up decently, which I think is the main thing. And I think going forward, Tom, a lot of people are just looking at, of course, the trade news that is constantly developing by the day, but I think investors are really starting to look at some of these other risks as well that people aren't necessarily thinking about right now, like the government shutdown that is set to go into effect this weekend.
Yeah, this is pretty insane. If they don't get something done, this is going to be pretty brutal. I did see that this afternoon they are scheduled to vote on this spending bill, and then this is going to go to the Senate, where again they're going to need 60 votes. We've been talking about that for the past few days. I doubt that they're going to end up getting those 60 votes. So we'll see how that situation plays out. They'll probably have to do some type of weird negotiations and other type of bill as the end of the week draws near. But this situation is just something adding to the fuel, Mike. And in the short term, there's been a lot of talks of people, all scared about recessions in the short term. I want to know in the comments, what do you guys think? Is there going to be a recession? We can't even get these funding bills approved, of course. We have everything going on with tariffs. We have interest rates blown out of the water. It's been an insane past couple of years, and we even have a lot of data coming out over the next couple of days, which is going to be a pretty huge thing as well with the CPI data tomorrow.
Tomorrow, 1 hour before market open, we have some very important CPI inflation data. As we all know, inflation has been pretty crazy over the past few years, and while it has came down a good amount from its peak, the war against inflation still has not been won just yet, and with all of these tariffs set to go into place, there definitely still is some upside risk with inflation. So tomorrow's reading, 1 hour before open, will give us a lot more clarity as how inflation is developing. If it comes in a lot hotter than expected, then that can definitely bring in a lot more fear and panic than we're already even seeing. Right now, the headline rate for inflation, so the year-over-year rate for inflation, previously came in at 3%, and tomorrow it's expected to come in around 2.9%. If we see a reading around, let's say 3.1% or higher, that would be a major risk, and we could see a whole new level of craziness.
Yeah, we definitely could. If it ends up coming in over 3, I will be pretty worried tomorrow morning. And I guess the good news is they are kind of looking for a little drop here. So if we do end up seeing, let's just say a good drop, then that might be a good sign as well. But either way, have your eyes on this inflation data. It is going to be extremely, extremely influential here for the overall market. And we will talk about SPY levels in just a little while. But of course, with all the volatility lately, this could shift things quite a bit. Mike, we also do have a pretty stacked earnings lineup for tomorrow with Adobe in after hours, IRBT in pre-market, ZIM as well. And I don't know if you guys caught my sarcasm there, but it was definitely meant to show.
Alrighty, Tom. So looking at these specific levels for SPY, we are very close to some major levels of support. We saw a little bit of optimism come into play towards the end of the day, or the second half of the day with SPY, but we certainly have some heavy resistance overhead. So what are the important levels to watch, and what are you seeing with the charts?
Yeah, with SPY right now, I really do like that high of day today, right around 564 and even 565 overhead. I have both of those levels as pretty nice resistance on my charts in the short term. If SPY is able to get a good move tomorrow and truly break out above this level, that would be a great thing to see. It tried to break it in pre-market today and then even on that end of day run before shooting right back down. I will say I was pretty optimistic there at the end of the day as the market was moving off this positive news, and then I don't know, that end of day pullback now has me a little worried, but that's just the type of volatility that we are dealing with. And this support that it pulled back to is going to be very crucial as well, right around 556 and then 555. This is going to be very important for tomorrow. If we start to see SPY flush below this range, that's where I'm going to start to see or shift more to the bearish side. So just keep that on the radar. There are some more supports like 550, 548, and 545 that I am watching for. And I will say, Mike, I had to go back quite a long ways on the chart to get these supports. SPY has not been at these levels in quite a while.
No doubt, and I think the most important level right now is definitely that 552 area of support. If that gives out, it's just going to be another blow to the bulls, and it'll just cause even more fear to continue to creep in, even more margin calls, even more short selling, and it'll continue to feed this bearish feedback loop that we've been talking about. At the same time, for an upside level, I think that 564 level is the most important level to the upside. upside. Not only was it a pivotal point from the second half of today's run, but it was also a key pivotal point from today in pre-market. If we can get back above that level in a meaningful way, I think that can definitely stop some short sellers out, as well as spur some more buy the dip action. So 564 and 552 are the main levels I'm watching. And of course, in markets like this one, you have to pay attention to the news, because that has basically been what's been driving the market all month long. So keep that in mind. And besides that, Tom, I think we are all set for some of these interesting charts that showcase more about how this market is performing compared to history. So this is going to be a fun segment here. So looking at the first one, as we can see by this chart here, it doesn't even do the full justice of how bad this most recent correction has been, because the market actually got closer to that 10% pullback range. But we could see that Trump's second term has definitely been almost like the polar opposite of his first one. And what is historically interesting about this is that Trump is very close, at least the second term is very close to being one of the worst starts in a stock market sense for any president over like the past 20 years or so. Obama currently has him beat from Obama's first term, but it's still early.
Yeah, this is a pretty crazy chart to see. I can't believe that Trump's about to overtake Obama there. That's a pretty wild thing to say, at least on this term. Now, I guess we'll see how it plays out over the next few years, but either way, very fun charts, and very interesting to see some of this seasonality data, I guess we'll call it, right? And Trump's first term was so hot that I thought that whenever the initial bull run started, whenever Trump was elected this time, I thought that we were going to see an insane run up just like we did last time, but obviously that is not the case, as there's been a lot more craziness.
And another thing to keep in mind is that there is a lot going on right now, especially in a trade sense. And when change happens, sometimes stocks fall in the short term. And when you add in how high stock prices have been over the past few years, it's not really all that surprising that we're seeing a pullback. And oftentimes, pullbacks end up bringing up some of the best opportunities that we see in a broader sense. And as we look at this data here, we can see that when we look at years that just crush it in the stock market, in the sense of, let's say there's 20% gains or more, we see some pretty big red days sprinkled in there. So, while this year has definitely been a little bit rough so far, don't let it get to you too much, because a lot of times some of the best years in the market end up having a good amount of red days. And I think 2020 was a perfect example of that.
Yeah, Mike, that's pretty insane. I can't believe, looking on here, 1997 is a pretty crazy example where the market ended up having a day where it was down 6.9%, and then ended up closing up the year 31%. And I guess that just shows that, sometimes we go through these volatile times and we can still see some pretty crazy recoveries overall. And I guess, the more you zoom out on the market as well, it also helps. If you go to SPX on a daily chart and you start zooming out, really, this dip isn't that bad over the past few years, considering how much gains that have really been shown.
No doubt. So besides that, Tom, let's get right into some setups and predictions for tomorrow. A stock that is close on watch is SLV, and it is to the upside. For those of you who watch consistently, this is a ticker symbol that we've hit on a lot over the past few weeks and months. SLV follows silver prices, and it had a pretty awesome day today, as we have increasing fears with trade and just uncertainty in general. A lot of money tends to flow into safe haven assets like gold, silver, and other things like that, we'll say. SLV, or silver prices, have been doing well, but they've certainly been lagging behind gold prices, and we're starting to see more and more momentum come into play here. SLV is definitely still on my bullish radar, and while this certainly has potential for an upside move tomorrow, I would say it's even more so on watch for a broader move over these next couple of weeks and months. We are getting closer and closer to some of these previous resistance levels, around 30 $30, like $30.30 per share, as well as like $32 per share back from October of last year. So either way, SLV's on watch.
Yeah, this will be awesome. I'm definitely going to watch it for a $30 breakout. This is like the third test of this resistance here, so I'll definitely be keeping it on the radar, Mike. That is for sure. With my first setup, I'm looking at QBTS and some of these quantum stocks. I'm starting to look at them back to the upside. I do like how QBTS is forming and bouncing off of a support and base close to like $4.80 to even $5 a share, and it's holding above 5 in a pretty good way. So I'm going to keep watching for good positivity with these. I do like how it formed higher lows as well, and just we had a lot of positivity today out of a lot of these growth stocks that have been beaten down in the short term. So I will be looking for the dip to get bought back up a little bit here. We've been seeing a lot of sell-offs, of course, and enjoying a lot of moves down, but I am starting to shift a little bit, Mike. You know, we're seeing a little bit of optimism here.
All right, sounds good. Another stock that is close on watch is CELH, and it is also to the upside. This is a stock that we hit on a bit in last week's videos, and the stock has been continuing to put more pressure on some of its recent highs. Looking at it right now, I like how today it definitely had some increasing bullishness, and it is getting closer again to that like $28.50 level. If we can see a break above that tomorrow with some respectable momentum, it is definitely going to be on my radar for a potential bullish move.
Yeah, this is a pretty awesome stock in the short term, starting to bounce pretty well. If you go to like the daily, I like that daily support that it's been starting to hit off of around 25 as well. I'll definitely keep it on the radar. With my next setup, I'm looking at NIO. Mike, NIO has been nuts over the past couple months. It's actually, well, we enjoyed that really good bullish run with China stocks last year. And then as we got into 2025, everything changed. All the China stocks have been kind of down in the dumps, but lately they've been coming back to life. And NIO is one of those. They ran up 17% today. They are getting up to around a pretty major resistance where the high of day was today, around $5.36. The main thing that I want to see in the short term is a really good $5 hold, and just for this overall momentum to really continue. We're seeing a lot of good continuations out of the growth stocks, and that $5 breakout today was crucial. You can see on the Bookmap that this was a very large stack of sellers there at 5 and just a major resistance in general. It was a whole dollar psychological level, and seeing that break today was awesome. So as long as we keep holding above 5, I'm going to keep watching NIO to the upside in the short term.
Sounds good. Yeah, there was some pretty good momentum here. So I will also keep this one close on watch. But besides that, Tom, let's jump right into today's momentum plays. And with the first one, we have SERV to the upside.
Serve Robotics, if they can break the high of day around $7.15, then watch them back to the upside.
All right, with the next one, we have COIN, or Coinbase, also to the upside.
Yeah, COIN recovered up in a pretty good way today with some of these Bitcoin stocks. If they can break above 196, then keep watching them back up.
All right, and then with the last one, we have FSLR, or First Solar, to the upside.
FSLR can have some wild moves sometimes. If they can break out above 141 tomorrow, watch them up. They almost double topped right here today.
All right, so we have FSLR, COIN, and SERV all on the radar for potential continuations tomorrow if and only if they break through the levels listed. The stronger and more consistent these stocks move, the better the setups become. So definitely keep them close on the radar. Again, we want to see breakouts here. But Tom, we also have a very exciting $1.87 million big money trade today with ticker symbol CAMT. Today, the big money bought the 65 strike call options that expire on August 15th of 2025. Looking at this trade here, for my advanced traders out there, this technically is a call debit spread where they also shorted the 85 strike call options, but I'm pretty excited about this one as the trader here is risking around like $1.87 million to make a little bit over $4 million. They specifically filled their orders today all throughout the day to help avoid just general detection, which is definitely a good sign in a situation like this. At the same time, there's a respectable amount of money put into this trade, and these call options are basically at the money as well. So with everything being said, I really like the reward to risk here. It has a fair amount of time to it, but I'm pretty excited to see how this one ends up doing.
Yeah, and I like how CAMT is also approaching like pretty big support here on the daily chart. This $60 support is going to be pretty crucial. We've seen a lot of good bounces on CAMT right around this level, and if we get a good bounce here, I do like this next resistance around like 73. So, I don't know what people are looking at out there for some targets, but that would definitely be a pretty good one considering it's at like 63 right now. That'd be a pretty decent pop, but maybe even more than that. That might just be one first target, of course. This has a lot of time out to August, so you probably could get pretty nifty with it. Like you did say, Mike, it is a spread, but it's a very interesting play at the end of the day, and I really do like the support. It can make the risk-reward ratio pretty advantageous, I would say, if you keep your stop maybe somewhere under 60, like 59 or 58.50.
All right, sounds good. So either way, keep a close eye on this one going forward. But we also have to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Jay Palma in the Stocked Up Discord. Huge shout out to you. Thank you so much for being a great active member of the community. It's awesome having you in there. So keep up all of the great work. As always, if you guys are into short-term trading, definitely check out that first link in the description and the comments down below to get in on the action. This gives you full access to our army of trading bots. You can join our weekly live events, chat with Tom and myself all day long, access the big money trades every single day before they are covered in these nightly videos, among many, many, many other features where if we covered everything, this video would be at least a couple hours long. So definitely check out the trading floor down below. But I am pretty excited for tomorrow. Don't forget, we do have that important inflation data 1 hour before the market opens, as well as just the general craziness with the trade war and everything else that's going on. Don't forget, we do have the steel and aluminum tariffs set to go into effect tomorrow, which is important, and we will probably see some headlines related to that. But besides that, thank you all so much for watching, and let's crush it in the market tomorrow.